people and events, but a rally that was supposed to take place this weekend is drawing outrage and concern from human rights groups along with city officials. They say a far-right group was scheduled to hold their rally right here on the front steps of City Hall on the same one-year anniversary as a neo-Nazi march in Charlottesville just 1 year ago.
There are so many groups that have a history of real intolerance, bigotry, gathering in Toronto for a rally on public space.
What about this event says hate to you?
Well, all we can do is judge by history and judge by comments that groups have made. There are many intolerant comments that have been made by groups like this. I think that's why we can expect to see what's happening. As well, simply the fact that some of these groups are talking about Charlottesville in a positive sense, saying we need to have a Canadian Charlottesville experience. That to me is just nonsensical and it's wrong, and I think all people of good conscience have to stand against that and say not in our city.
Toronto is no stranger to hate rallies. Last year, several were held here, including 2 on the front steps of City Hall, which were attended by controversial groups. Many, including community advocates and dozens of counter-protesters, called these hate rallies deeply rooted in racism and white supremacy. That rally was scheduled to take place on Saturday, marking the 1-year anniversary of the Charlottesville neo-Nazi rally in Virginia. Just today, the organizers said it would be postponed. The city tells City News it does not tolerate hate rallies and it didn't issue a permit for the event, but it had a hate activity policy where it's prohibited to use city facilities and spaces for hate activity. Some are wondering why the city can't stop these events from happening in the future.
This is city property. There should be tools in the toolkit for cities to prevent rallies such as this, which, by the way, brings all sorts of counter-protesters. And when you have the protesters and the counter-protesters, that often leads to violence. It's something that we don't want to see in this city, and it needs to be stopped.
Councillor James Pasternak has been advocating for ways the city could ban hate-sponsored rallies from taking place, saying they cost the city thousands of dollars. The councillor wants to look at how it can hold organizers of these rallies responsible for the costs incurred.
When you book a public square, there's basic fees for setting up a PA systems, for security, for barriers, for cleanup. Everybody must play by the rules. So not only is this ripping the city off of thousands of dollars, perhaps tens of thousands of dollars, but it's besmirching the city's good reputation. When it comes to an event that's been permitted, we have to revoke those permits because we have to make sure these groups sign adhere to the city's anti-discrimination policy. And there's no way these groups are meeting that threshold.
And Councillor Pasternak says the city staff are doing just that. They're looking into this and they're expected to come back with a legal framework on how the city is able to address hate-sponsored rallies. Meanwhile, we did reach out to Mayor John Tory's office just moments ago. His office responded with part of a statement that reads, the city, including the Toronto Police Service, is aware a rally being promoted by white supremacist groups and other bigot city officials, and our police will be monitoring any such gatherings closely.